She did everything right. She exercised. She slept 7 hours. She took her vitamins. She had no family history of dementia. And at 71, she sat in my office unable to remember the name of her closest friend of 40 years. When I reviewed her diet, I found 6 specific foods she was eating almost every single day. Foods she believed were either neutral or healthy. Foods her doctor had never flagged. Foods that, according to research published in the journals Neurology and JAMA Neurology, were quietly and systematically dismantling her brain's ability to hold on to memories. When we removed them, she got her friend's name back within 8 weeks, and a great deal more besides. I'm Patricia Novak, a women's cognitive health researcher with over 2 decades studying how the female brain ages after menopause and what accelerates that process far beyond what it should be. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what those 6 foods are, why they are specifically more dangerous for women over 65 than for anyone else, and what to replace them with. Because the women who are maintaining sharp, clear memory into their 70s and 80s are not doing anything extraordinary. They simply stopped eating these 6 things. Stay with me until the end. Because the 6th food on this list is almost certainly in your kitchen right now, and it's the one most women are the most shocked to learn about. Why your brain after 65 is more vulnerable to food than you've been told before we get to the list, you need to understand something that changes the entire context of this conversation. After menopause, your brain loses its primary dietary defense, estrogen. Throughout your adult life, estrogen acted as a powerful anti-inflammatory shield for your brain tissue. It reduced the impact of pro-inflammatory foods. It protected the blood-brain barrier, the filter that keeps harmful substances out of your brain. It buffered the effects of blood sugar spikes on your neurons. It supported the gut-brain axis, the communication system between your digestive tract and your brain that governs neurotransmitter production, including serotonin and GABA. When estrogen drops after menopause, all of those protections weaken simultaneously. The foods that your brain could manage at 45 become genuinely more damaging at 65. Not slightly more, meaningfully more. And the research now supports this distinction in ways it didn't a decade ago. The 2025 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee's systematic review, analyzing 83 studies on dietary patterns and cognitive decline, concluded that dietary patterns high in the foods I'm about to describe are directly associated with increased risk of age-related cognitive decline, mild cognitive impairment, dementia, and Alzheimer's disease. This isn't fringe research. This is the scientific body advising the United States government on nutrition policy. Now let's talk about the 6 foods. Food number 6. Processed deli meats and packaged sausages. This is the one most women overlook because it doesn't feel indulgent. A slice of turkey on a sandwich, a few pieces of deli ham, a breakfast sausage. It seems like a reasonable, even protein-focused choice. Here is what the research says. A study from Virginia Tech, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, tracked U.S. residents 55 and older for 7 years using data from the National Health and Retirement Study, one of the largest aging studies in the world. By the end of the study period, researchers found a 17% increase in cognitive issues among people who consumed at least 1 serving of ultra-processed meat per day. 1 serving. Daily. The mechanism is not mysterious. Processed deli meats are high in nitrates, advanced glycation end products, and saturated fat, all of which increase neuroinflammation, the chronic low-grade brain inflammation that, after menopause, you have significantly less hormonal protection against. The swap is straightforward. Choose simple, minimally processed protein, plain roasted chicken, canned wild salmon, eggs, lentils. The protein your brain needs is available in forms that don't come with the inflammatory packaging. Food number 5, sugary beverages, including the ones labeled healthy sodas, sweetened coffee drinks, flavored waters with added sugar, fruit juices, yes, including the ones with no added sugar, and the ones marketed as natural or vitamin-enriched. The same Virginia Tech study found that for each serving of soda consumed daily, there was a 6% increase in cognitive impairment. And a study published in Neurology, The Medical Journal of the American Academy of Neurology, following over 14,000 participants, found that a 10% increase in the proportion of ultra-processed foods, including sugary drinks, in the diet was associated with a 16% higher risk of cognitive impairment. Here is the specific brain mechanism that matters for women over 65. Sugar spikes your blood glucose. After menopause, estrogen is no longer there to regulate insulin sensitivity in the brain the way it once was. Repeated blood sugar spikes cause glycation, a process where sugar molecules attach to and damage proteins, including the proteins that make up your brain's neurons and the blood vessels feeding your brain. Research cited in Harvard Medical School's review of brain health identified high added sugar consumption as directly implicated in reduced brain volume in areas essential for memory. The brain remembers everything sugar does to it. Unfortunately, not in the way you want. Before we continue, I want to ask you something directly. How often do you drink something sweetened, soda, juice-flavored coffee during a typical week? If it's daily or close to it, type daily in the comments. If you've already cut these out, type done. I read every response, and your honesty helps every other woman watching this conversation. Food number 4, products made with refined white flour packaged bread, crackers, pasta made from white flour, pastries, muffins, the baked goods section of every grocery store. These foods convert almost immediately to glucose in your bloodstream, producing the same blood sugar spikes as sugar itself, sometimes more rapidly than table sugar, depending on the product. And as we just covered, those spikes are specifically more damaging to the postmenopausal brain. But there is a second mechanism here that is less discussed. Research published in Frontiers in Nutrition from Karolinska Institutet in Sweden identified that diets low in complex carbohydrates and high in refined grains are associated with protein malnutrition at the cellular level, meaning the brain's neurons don't receive the sustained nutrient supply they need to maintain synaptic connections, the connections where memories actually live. The 2025 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee review confirmed this directly. Dietary patterns higher in vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, fish, and unsaturated fats, and lower in refined grains, are associated with meaningfully lower risk of cognitive decline and dementia in adults 65 and older. The swap is concrete. Whole grain bread with at least 3 grams of fiber per slice, brown rice, quinoa, oats, lentils, sweet potatoes. These provide the sustained glucose your brain actually needs, not the spike and crash that refined flour delivers. Food number 3, products containing trans fats and partially hydrogenated oils. Check your labels. Right now, if you can. Look at your margarine, your packaged cookies, your frozen meals, your non-dairy coffee creamers, your microwave popcorn. Look for the words partially hydrogenated oil. If you see them, what you are holding is one of the most documented dietary threats to your brain that exists in the research literature. A Harvard Medical School review found that an examination of 4 studies, together including more than 8,600 people, found that eating more saturated and trans fat led to a 39% higher risk for Alzheimer's disease and more than double the risk for dementia in general. For each additional 4 grams per day of these fats consumed, the risk for dementia increased by 15%. And research published in PLOS One specifically examining trans fat consumption and word recall found a direct, measurable adverse relationship between dietary trans fat intake and memory performance, fewer words recalled, proportional to grams of trans fat consumed per day. The mechanism is direct. Trans fats damage the structural integrity of neuron cell membranes. They increase oxidative stress in brain tissue. They disrupt cell energy production, and your brain, which consumes roughly 20% of your body's oxygen despite being only about 2% of your body weight, is extraordinarily sensitive to disruptions in cellular energy. After menopause, with less estrogen available to reduce inflammation and support vascular health, trans fats' effects on your brain are not softened the way they once were. Food number 2, alcohol, even in small amounts. This one is uncomfortable to say clearly, because the narrative around moderate alcohol consumption and health has been shifting significantly in recent years, and the data specific to older women is not what many people have been led to believe. For women over 65, the brain's ability to metabolize alcohol decreases with age. The same amount of alcohol produces higher blood alcohol concentration than it did at 45. And alcohol specifically disrupts the deep sleep stages your brain depends on for overnight repair, the stages where the glymphatic system clears amyloid proteins, where memories are consolidated, where neural damage is repaired. Research cited by Harvard Health explicitly identifies alcohol as a direct threat to brain volume and neurotransmitter function in older adults. And the journal Stroke has documented associations between regular alcohol consumption and both cognitive decline and increased stroke risk. The question I ask my patients isn't whether one glass of wine is poison. It isn't. The question is what it is replacing and what it is costing your brain's overnight repair process, night after night, over months and years. For women over 65, whose melatonin production is already significantly lower than it was at 40, whose deep sleep stages are already naturally shorter, that nightly disruption compounds in ways that are measurable on neuropsychological testing. Food number 1, diet and sugar-free products containing artificial sweeteners. This is the one. The one that shocks almost every woman I share it with because these products have been marketed specifically to health-conscious older adults as the smart, safe alternative to sugar. They are in your diet soda, your sugar-free yogurt, your light salad dressing, your protein bars, your flavored sparkling water, your sugar-free gum, and according to research published in September 2025 in Neurology, the Journal of the American Academy of Neurology, the most prestigious neurology journal in the United States, they are directly associated with accelerated cognitive decline. The study followed 12,772 adults for 8 years, tracking their consumption of 7 common artificial sweeteners, including aspartame, saccharin, erythritol, xylitol, and sorbitol, alongside regular cognitive testing. The findings were striking. The highest consumption group showed 62% faster global cognitive decline than the lowest consumption group. The researchers described this as equivalent to approximately 1.6 years of additional brain aging, not 1.6 months. 1.6 years from the sweeteners that were supposed to be protecting your health. The mechanism the researchers identified goes directly through the gut-brain axis. Artificial sweeteners like erythritol and sorbitol alter the composition of your gut microbiome, disrupting the beneficial bacteria that produce neurotransmitters, including serotonin and GABA, compromising the blood-brain barrier, and increasing neuroinflammation, the very pathway that is already undersupported after menopause. Senior researcher Dr. Claudia Kimi-Swamoto of the University of Sao Paulo stated clearly, low and no-calorie sweeteners are often seen as a healthy alternative to sugar. However, our findings suggest certain sweeteners may have negative effects on brain health over time. And here is where I want to mention something that I share with women who ask me what to do once they understand this gut-brain connection, not as a sales pitch, but as an honest clinical observation. When you remove the foods that are damaging your gut microbiome and compromising your brain's access to the neurotransmitters it needs, many women find that dietary changes alone are a strong start but not always sufficient to restore what has been disrupted over years. There are natural plant-based supplements specifically formulated to support the gut-brain axis in women over 65, using ingredients that directly address the microbiome disruption and neuroinflammation that these foods have been creating. I've reviewed several of them carefully, and I found one whose ingredient profile is grounded in the research I trust. The link is in the description below, not because I want you to purchase something, but because I wish someone had pointed me toward this research before I spent years seeing patients struggle with changes that could have been addressed sooner. Read the ingredients. Look at the research. Make your own decision. If this channel is giving you information that matters to you, please subscribe right now and hit the bell. Every week, I publish content like this, specifically for women over 65 who deserve honest, research-backed answers about what is happening in their bodies. 2 seconds. It means everything for this information to reach the women who need it. What to do starting today? Let me be direct with you. You do not need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. That approach doesn't work and it doesn't last. What works is precision, removing the specific things that are causing the most damage and replacing them with specific alternatives that support what your brain actually needs. This week, read one label a day. Look for partially hydrogenated oils, artificial sweeteners, and added sugars in the products you use most often. You will find them in places that will surprise you. This week, replace one processed meat with a minimally processed protein. Canned wild salmon over deli turkey. Eggs over packaged sausage. The swap takes 30 seconds. This week, replace one sugary or artificially sweetened drink with water, herbal tea, or plain sparkling water with lemon. Your brain's blood vessels will respond within days. These are not grand gestures. They're precise ones. And precision, repeated consistently, is what the research shows actually changes cognitive trajectory for women over 65. Your brain is not giving up on you. It is responding to what you give it, every single day. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 6 foods surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and your answer may be exactly what another woman needs to hear to take her first step today. And if there is a woman in your life who is eating these foods right now without knowing what they're doing to her brain, share this video with her. You may be giving her something genuinely important. I'll see you in the next video.